Video games. Whether you're a casual mobile gamer or a dedicated console player, we've all experienced the magic that gaming brings. But how did we get from simple pixelated screens to the immersive, 3D virtual worlds we have today? Today, we're taking a deep dive into the fascinating history of video games. From the early days of arcade machines to the futuristic world of virtual reality, here are 10 fun facts that shaped the gaming industry as we know it. Ready? Let's begin. Our story begins way back in 1958, long before the term video game even existed. A physicist named William Higginbotham created a game called Tennis for Two to entertain visitors at the Brookhaven National Laboratory. The game was played on an oscilloscope screen, and while it wasn't commercially available, it's often considered the first interactive electronic game. Imagine a simple tennis game running on technology designed for atomic research, marking the dawn of what would become a multi-billion-dollar industry. Fast forward to 1972, and it's hard to talk about early gaming without mentioning Pong. But here's a fun fact. Pong wasn't actually the first arcade game. That title goes to Computer Space by Nolan Bushnell. However, Pong was the game that truly took off, making waves in bars, arcades, and even homes. It was so popular that the first Pong machine Atari put in a bar ended up breaking down, not because it was faulty, but because it was overflowing with coins. Pong's success catapulted Atari into the spotlight and paved the way for the arcade era. While arcade machines were dominating public spaces, the gaming revolution was also happening at home. In 1972, the same year as Pong, the Magnavox Odyssey was released, the world's first home video game console. It came with only a handful of games, and the graphics were so basic that it used plastic overlays you would place on your TV screen to simulate different games. While it might seem primitive now, the Odyssey set the stage for the home gaming experience, something that would explode in popularity in the decades to come. Nintendo is one of the biggest names in gaming today. But did you know they started out as a playing card company in 1889? That's right. Long before Super Mario or The Legend of Zelda, Nintendo was making traditional Japanese playing cards, known as Hanafuda. Over the years, they dabbled in many different industries, from instant rice to taxis. But it wasn't until the 1970s that they turned their attention to video games. And the rest, as they say, is history. The early 80s weren't all fun and games. In fact, the video game industry faced its darkest moment in 1983 with what's now known as the video game crash. The market was flooded with low-quality games, and the industry couldn't sustain the oversaturation. One of the biggest culprits? E.T. the Extraterrestrial for the Atari 2600, often considered one of the worst games ever made. The game was so bad that Atari had to bury millions of unsold cartridges in a landfill, a move that became a symbol of the industry's temporary collapse. But just when it seemed like video games were done for, Nintendo swooped in with the NES in 1985, single-handedly reviving the industry. With iconic games like Super Mario Bros. And The Legend of Zelda, the NES became a massive success, selling over 60 million units worldwide. Nintendo didn't just bring video games back, they revolutionized them, introducing new genres and gameplay mechanics that are still relevant today. In the late 80s and early 90s, the gaming world saw its first major rivalry, the console wars between Sega and Nintendo. Sega's Genesis, marketed with the tagline, "Genesis does what Nintendo," tried to position itself as the cooler, more mature option compared to the family-friendly Nintendo. With games like Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega became a legitimate competitor to Nintendo, and the two companies battled for dominance throughout the 90s. Here's a little-known fact. The PlayStation almost never existed. In the early 90s, Sony was working with Nintendo to create a CD-based add-on for the Super Nintendo. But after a falling out, the partnership ended. Sony, however, decided to venture into the gaming world on their own, and the PlayStation was born in 1994. The PlayStation didn't just succeed. It dominated, selling over 100 million units worldwide and changing the gaming landscape forever. As we moved into the 2000s, gaming entered a new era, online and mobile gaming. The launch of Xbox Live in 2002 revolutionized multiplayer gaming. For the first time, players could connect and compete with others across the globe from the comfort of their own homes. Games like Halo 2 and Call of Duty became household names, thanks to their online modes. But it wasn't just consoles that were changing the game. Mobile gaming exploded in the late 2000s, turning almost everyone into a gamer. Games like Angry Birds, Candy Crush, and later Pokemon Go brought gaming to billions of users, creating a whole new casual gaming market. Today, mobile gaming generates more revenue than both console and PC gaming combined, proving that video games are no longer confined to just one screen or one type of player. And now, we find ourselves on the brink of the next major leap in gaming, virtual reality. Though the concept of VR has been around since the 1990s, it wasn't until the 2010s that the technology finally caught up with the dream. Headsets like the Oculus Rift, PlayStation VR, and HTC Vive have brought fully immersive 3D worlds to life. While VR is still in its early stages, it's clear that the future of gaming is heading toward immersion like we've never seen before. And with advancements in augmented reality and even brain-computer interfaces on the horizon, who knows what's next? From the humble beginnings of Tennis for Two to the cutting-edge technology of virtual reality, the journey of video games has been nothing short of incredible. Whether you're a retro gamer who loves the classics or someone who's excited about the future of VR and online communities, it's clear that video games are here to stay, and they'll continue to evolve in ways we can't even imagine. So, what's your favorite era in gaming history? Were you around for the early days of arcade machines? Or are you more into the modern VR and online gaming scene? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell icon to get notified when we drop more awesome content like this. Thanks for watching, and keep on gaming.